and then I'm going to share my screen. I don't know if you have to accept the recording. I've never done it before.
No, it looks like it's recording at the top. I think it's set.
Okay, great. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. So I can still see you, so it will be recording you. So just so I know, I have your permission to record this presentation.
You absolutely do. Thank you, Shara.
Thank you. Okay, so S.O.S Financial Group is the brokerage that I work with. It stands for Strategies Offering Solutions. And that's really what our focus is, and that's what the plan is going to give us the foundation of. And that'll make a little bit more sense as we go through the presentation here. So our mission is to make a difference for one individual, family, and business at a time. So I work with individuals like yourself. I work with large families, small families, and businesses directly, because there are often some things that are different in financial planning when you run a business than for your own personal finances. So in the case of a solo entrepreneur like yourself, unlikely. You're probably mixing both the, your business and your personal finances together. But if not, when we do the questionnaire, please keep me posted on that.
Okay, absolutely.
So what we do is we shine a light on your finances by creating this financial plan. I design it for you by asking you all the questions in the questionnaire that we're going to do. And we kind of look at it like we're protecting your financial house. We use that as our metaphor, that we're building a financial house for you and for your future, and then we're protecting it for you. It's completely customized to your needs and keeps your values, your goals, and so on in mind. So as much as there's sort of a framework for it, it's very much tailored to how we're going to build the future that you want and protect the present.
Awesome.
Okay, so this is our rudimentary drawing of a house so that you can see what we put on each floor. So the idea here is that the foundation, I always start by describing why we built the foundation the way we do. And that is called protection management, which you would probably think of as insurance, which is life insurance, disability insurance, and critical illness insurance. And the reason that's the foundation is because everything we do over and above that I'll get into in a little bit more detail in a second can fall down like a house of cards if you don't have that protection in place at the foundation. And if something were to happen to you or to someone that you're financially dependent on, in either case, so the very first thing that we try to do is look after your protection management. And then your budget. So not everybody wants to work directly with an advisor on their budget. Some people do, so that's also very customized to you. If you want to, work on putting together a budget, expenses versus income, what kind of savings you want to do after we do the whole plan, we can look at that very much in detail and see where your best bet is to put your money, where you can take savings from, some things that you can maybe cut out in favor of some of your goals and dreams, which will be a little bit more clear by the end of our questionnaire later today. We also work on an emergency fund, and I think during COVID pandemic and shutdown, I think it's become very obvious why an emergency fund is necessary. So what that is 3 to 6 months, ideally a year's worth of expenses socked away that you don't touch. It's there for emergencies. So we want to work towards creating that so that if something like this were to happen and you actually lost income because of something that's out of your control, whether that's illness, an accident, or a world crisis like this, or just losing your job. In your case, you're self-employed, so that's not the issue at the moment. There's money in the bank to cover you so that at least you have that financial peace of mind. My goal is always going to be to create even more peace of mind in your world.
Awesome.
And we may need to do some debt elimination. I don't know your circumstances yet. So if we need to do some debt elimination, there's multiple ways for me to help you with that. coaching, hand-holding, strategies, and in really, cases where it's just not overcomable, it's overwhelming, we can look at things like consumer proposals and bankruptcies, which I can walk you through, and we use BDO for that. So there's a lot of merit and credibility behind doing that. And it's not as bad as you think. We help you rebuild your credit as you're doing that process. But we'll see. We'll see when we get into your financial plan if that kind of thing is necessary. And then short and midterm savings. So anything that you might be working towards in the near future. So I'm going to say in the next sort of 10 years. Maybe you want to buy another condo, or you want to buy a house, or you want to buy a vacation home, or you want to travel to India and meditate for a year. Whatever it is that you want to do, we can work towards and build into your plan. Long-term savings would be retirement. So we're going to create a picture of what your retirement, how you want it to look, and then the plan will show you how you can get there. Estate and inheritance planning is not a piece that I actually look at separately. It's really involved in everything that we do, because everything that I do with you, which will become clearer as time goes on, includes protections for your beneficiaries, and protecting your capital for your beneficiaries, and reducing debt so that they don't have to inherit that. So there's a lot of estate and inheritance planning that goes right into just the basics of what we're doing. And then in addition to that, we work with a company called Legal Shield to help you with getting a will and that kind of thing as inexpensively as possible. And then other goals and dreams is the roof of the house. As you can see, can you imagine, like, if you didn't have critical illness, for example, and God forbid you were struck with something and you couldn't work, how everything would come crawling down, like falling down on top of you, that we work.
Terrifying.
Because you're going to have to take from all of those savings and all that emergency fund and so on. So that's the plan that we build for you, that I'm going to build for you through the financial software. And then I identify the gaps and fill that and offer you solutions and strategies.
Awesome. This is great.
Fantastic. So this next page is our insurance partners, our protection management partners. So what I like to tell you about this is just a snapshot of some of the insurance companies that we work with. One of the benefits of working with a broker is that I don't work, for example, just for Sun Life and can only offer you their line of products. So if you have a need that's insurance related, I'm going to scour the market for you and pick the product that is best for you, best price, and has the best bells and whistles available. But in addition to that, I'm also, part of my expertise is to know which companies have a good reputation of paying out on a claim, which is something that you just can't get by going online and picking a company. You have no way of really knowing if they actually have what's called a claims ratio. So as long as they have an over 95% payout on claim, we're likely to be working with that company.
Awesome.
98% is more of the average, but over 95, I would still feel is a good company to work with if it's the right policy for you. On here, you will see that I can work with companies like BMO. The reason that's on there is primarily, most of the time, the other products are likely to be better for you than something from a bank. However, some clients want to work with their bank, but also want to work with me. So I want you to know that you can do both, right?
Awesome.
The companies on here that you've not heard of, which could be most of them, I wouldn't worry about that. They're all long established Canadian companies that primarily market to brokers as opposed to the general public, which is why you haven't heard of them. The two that you probably haven't heard of that I use the most are Industrial Alliance, or IA Financial Group, and the Capital. Those two companies, IA Financial Group is, I believe, 127 years old.
Wow.
And the Capital, I think, is 89 years old. And created and managed and administrated the insurance for the whole province of Quebec.
Wow.
These are very, very solid companies. And any company that I work with is a solid company. But beyond that, the insurance industry and the government is very keen to remove the stigma associated in the past with some insurance products. And therefore, there's a lot of protections built in now that weren't there before. So can you think of a time when you've ever heard of an insurance company going out of business?
I guess I cannot think of no, I don't think so.
The main reason for that is they would if an insurance company was in trouble, other insurers would buy their book of business and sort of buy them out, and it wouldn't look like they're going under, so there's no threat or panic to the client base. So there's really nothing that you need to worry about. We use very reputable, established, solvent, doing well companies.
Wonderful. Shara, I'm so sorry. I just need to let my cat in the door. Can I just take one moment?
Absolutely.
Thank you. She's losing it.
There we go.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so the next page is our investment management partners. So I don't just do insurance, of course. I also work on investment management for you, which is the sort of savings component that we were talking about earlier, and reaching goals and dreams and so on. So not everybody is familiar with the fact that insurance companies are a very strong place to save money. And we work with what's called segregated funds instead of mutual funds. They're still mutual funds, but they have an insurance wrapper wrapped around them. So what that means, I use a hybrid product primarily at the Capitale. So what that means is that you get a death benefit guarantee. So if you put $100,000 into mutual funds over the years with a bank, and you put $100,000 into segregated funds or a hybrid of mutual and segregated funds at the Capitale over the same period of time, the day you pass away, the bank will give your beneficiary the market value on the day that you pass, regardless of whether that was at a loss or at an increase. Le Capitale and other insurance companies will give your beneficiaries your capital that you put in, so your 100,000, or the market value, whichever is greater.
Okay.
So this is where we talk about protecting and protection management alongside investment management. So it's not just about growth, it's also about protecting your capital, which other than segregated funds and GICs, you really don't get guarantees. And if anybody ever tells you that there's a guarantee, other than in segregated funds, there isn't. So, we also work based on track record, net rates of return. So the reason I use this hybrid product with the Capitale is because the only downside that I ever hear to segregated funds is that they cost a little bit more to be invested in than in mutual funds, straight mutual funds. However, your net rate of return is really what you need to worry about. Agreed?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So at Le Capitale, they have a strong track record of providing net rates of return that consistently outperform the rest of the market, or certainly the banking market.
Awesome.
Regardless of fees, but they also match those fees. They're called MERs because it's a hybrid product. They've removed one guarantee, which is a maturity guarantee that's really not necessary in most cases. If it is, then I would recommend a different company and we'll go from there. Any questions on that so far?
Nope. Sounds good. Feels good.
Awesome. If you did want to work just with mutual funds, if that was something that you had a passion about, we can still do that through companies like Franklin Templeton Investments. So we partner with mutual fund companies so that I can meet your needs regardless of what I might think is best for you. We will work together and decide that together.
Great.
This page is about the different investment opportunities that we work with. So it's basically all different kinds of investments. There's a ton, so you don't necessarily need to know about all of them. You've probably heard of a TFSA.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that is?
Tax-free savings account.
Right. And how do you see it as a savings account, an investment? How would you view it?
I would say it's a savings account. Yeah, I guess I see it as a savings account.
Okay. So that's probably because of the way it's labeled. It's called a savings account, right? But it's kind of a misnomer that was created for marketing purposes. And really what it is supposed to be and is an investment. You're invested in the markets when you typically, when you invest in a TFSA. And there are usually penalties for taking money out of it. No problem with that if you know that up front and you're putting money in on the basis of understanding that you're probably not going to touch it till those penalties run out. But if you don't know that, it's a little bit challenging. So if you have a TFSA at the bank or with a company that you're not, that hasn't had a lot of contact with you, I would recommend just looking into that, because it's not always abundantly clear that there are penalties on withdrawal.
Right.
The ones you would most likely want to use in the near future would be a TFSA, maybe an RRSP. You might have worked at a company in the past where you had a pension. If you did, I can transfer that into what's called a LIRA, which is it's a locked-in retirement account. So you're not, when the company gives you a pension, you're not actually allowed to touch it until retirement. So it can only be moved if it's locked in. And typically there's benefits to moving it. So those are the kinds of things you might use. An RESP would be something if, for example, you wanted to save for your nephew for his education. If you wanted to do something like that, we would do it within an RESP, but we would talk to Sarah first about, what they've already got in place. Those are basically the ones that you would use, but we have access to all the others. And as time goes on, part of my goal is obviously to educate you. I don't want to just dictate to you or tell you that this is the way it should be. I want you to learn and make your informed decisions. So ultimately, you might understand all of these investment accounts, but right now there's no need for all of that.
Awesome. Good.
The next one here is the rule of 72. And this is kind of often an aha moment for a lot of clients. So what this is compound interest. There's a big, long, massive calculation that we could not do in our brains. Einstein, I think, was probably the only one that could. There's calculators for that, but this is a very simple way of calculating how long it will take for your money to double. So you take whatever rate of return you're getting. So if you have money that you're saving at the bank, what percentage do you think you're getting on that money?
Oh God, I have no idea. Maybe 1 if I'm lucky. I have no idea.
Okay. So if you take that 1% and you divide it into 72, that's how long it's going to take for your money to double. So that's 72 years.
72 years.
At that rate. If you're getting an average of, say, 10%, because that's really easy math that we can do in our head, then it's 7.2 years that your money will double. Big, big difference. And I can tell you that 2020 is obviously an anomaly with the markets. But in 2019, most of my clients, depending on their risk profile, were earning a net rate of return of between 8 and 14%.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's after fees. So their money is doubling far quicker.
Oh, yes.
And if it was in the bank. And I actually, even at like Le Capital, I have a nice little story for you with Le Capital. At the beginning, when the markets were really crashing, the beginning of the pandemic, I was checking in with clients, of course, that have investments with us. And I spoke with one client in particular who had some of her investments in RRSP at the bank and some at Le Capital with me. The investments at the bank had lost 50% on the day that we talked. And she showed me the statements. The investments at Le Capital on the same day had lost 6%.
Oh.
Big difference. Now, obviously, it's all rebounded. I don't know if it's obvious. It's all rebounded now, and there's growth coming. It's still volatile. I won't say that it's completely even, but there's growth in place. And in most cases, my clients have recuperated their losses and grown on top of that. So their money's doubling a lot quicker than if it was in the bank. The aha part of this is that this magic rule of 72 also applies to debt. So what do you think the interest rate is on the average credit card?
19.
19. So let's go with 20.
Okay.
So that means that every 3.5 years, your debt is doubling.
Sheesh.
This is why if you can only pay the minimums, you don't get out of debt.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's doubling or it's growing, your debt is growing faster than you can pay it off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super important to pay down debt, and it's why it's on the second level of our house. If we can get rid of that for you, if you have any debt, then obviously we can start making the rule of 72 work for you instead of against you.
Right. Wow.
Okay, so more on debt options. We have other debt solutions. So I would teach you, if you're in debt, how to make use of the debt snowball. And I absolutely prefer to show you that with your own numbers than I do on this chart here. However, the basics of it is that basically what you're doing, what I'd be teaching you to do is to put any extra money that you have towards debt. Most people, let's say you have 5 debts, 5 credit card debts. Most people, if they have an extra $1,000, are putting it all on evenly, like $200 on each debt, if it's over and above their minimums. However, what I'm going to teach you to do is take that extra 1,000 and put it over and above the minimum on your highest interest debt first. Let's get that paid off. Let's say that the minimum on that card was $500. So when that is all done, when that's paid off, now you've got that $1,000 a month plus the 500 minimum that you're used to spending, and we now pay that down on the second highest interest rate. It will make a lot more sense when it's in the financial plan. The beauty of the financial plan as well, or one of the beauties of it, is if you do have debt, it's going to show you how much you can actually save in interest by doing it this way. So it saves you money, which is always going to be my goal, right?
Thank you.
No problem. We do partner or recommend different companies to do certain things. So Borrowell is, do you know your credit score, Kim?
It's 780.
Okay, that's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Borrowell is what we would recommend for going, monitoring your credit score on a regular basis. We've checked out the security behind it. We like what they offer when they send you emails and stuff. We're not too concerned with it. Not to say that there's any problems with any other online credit monitoring services. We made sure that we checked one out so that we could recommend it. That being said, your bank probably offers it for free now too. So the next time you're in your online banking, if you want to monitor your credit, you can do so by clicking in there and having them handle it for you. As I mentioned earlier, BDO is who we would use for bankruptcies and consumer proposals, and typically I would walk you through that process if you needed that. It's usually, even though I'm not the trustee, usually I'm almost as involved as the trustee because the client is feeling a little bit more trust and familiarity with me. So whatever is your comfort level is what I'm going to do. The next page is about our referral partners. So again, what we've done, we want to be a one-stop shop as a financial brokerage. We want to fill all your financial needs for you and be a resource for anything I don't have a license for. So I'm licensed to do life insurance and investment management. I'm not licensed to do a mortgage for you or to be a lawyer or an accountant or any of those things. So we vet professionals that have other licenses, that have other areas of expertise that you may need. We pre-vet them and we stay on top of how they're treating our clients, and we make sure that they're as client focused as we are. and that they're experts in their business as well. So, and of course, I would get a referral fee if I were to, if you were to do business with any of them, but that's really not the issue. I absolutely will refer someone to you locally if you can't connect with one of these people. So we can help you with some top mortgage brokers in the industry with years and years and years of experience that have access to private lending as well as all the standard lending. Legal Shield, which is the least expensive way to get advice, legal advice, and to build up a will and power of attorney if you don't have that in place. Typically, it's about $1,500, $500 to $1,500 to get your will done. And this is under $30 a month as a subscription, and it's included. I'm using them at the moment. I have a lawsuit, and I wasn't happy with my lawyer, some activity that my lawyer conducted, or their paralegals did. I called Legal Shield for advice on how to handle that. So it's not just about the will and power of attorney. It's I can get access to advice from actual lawyers for free on pretty much any subject.
Wow.
Accounting, we have an amazing accountant who can help out. Let's say you need to invest in RRSPs in order to offset, because you're going to be self-employed solely, in order to offset your tax debt at the end of the year. So we would run the numbers by her and find out, what's the minimum that Kim has to invest in order to get the maximum benefit that she's allowed to get, tax deduction that she's allowed to get. So I can work on that. I believe you have an uncle that can do that too, but if you ever needed this, I can put you in touch, or I can do it for you. B2B Bank is who we use for investment loans, which, we talk about getting you out of debt, so it might seem counterintuitive, but the fact is that it might make more sense to borrow some money at maybe 6% interest and invest it at maybe 10%. That's where it's sort of what we call smart debt. But that would only be once you're used to actually paying down debt and it's all gone, all your debt's gone, or most of it. Now that money can be used to take out a loan and start investing.
Awesome.
It's another strategy that we might discuss down the road, that's all. What this all does is it turns any financial stress into security, and then it turns that security into wealth. That's my goal with every person, family, and business that I work with. And it's the culture of the company as well. Brilliant. And it's why I chose this brokerage, because they're very, very client focused. There's no sales quotas. I don't lose my job if I don't sell you a policy this week, like things like that. There's nothing driving me or motivating me behind the scenes other than helping you. That's the kind of partnership I want to work with, and that's why I chose. I could have chosen one of hundreds of brokerages. I chose S.O.S for that reason. So what the financial plan does is it lets me make a difference in your financial life, customized for you, treating your finances as if they're my own, but with your goals in mind.
Wonderful.
Sound good?
Sounds so amazing. It's awesome.
Do you have any questions at this point?
No, certain things definitely held my interest particularly, but we'll discuss those at some point.
Yep, sounds good. So as part of this process now, because Zoom will run out, I am going to let's take a 5-minute break.
Perfect.
And then I will call you back. I'm pretty sure I have your phone number in my phone.
I think you do. Do you want me to call you in 5 minutes?
Sure. Why don't you give me a call?
Perfect.
And then we can get started on creating your plan.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'll call you at 11:40.
Sounds good. Thanks, Kim.
Great. Thanks, Shara.
Bye.